Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Great Awakening Generator. I am Rose McNair, and I am in Auckland, New Zealand. And as you know from other video clips you would have watched, this is where we are. We're a relatively new channel, and we're just experimenting and having fun and introducing a lot of people that are working for the collective in New Zealand, giving them a platform to say what they do and share it with you, and of course, make some amazing offers to you if they feel inclined to do so. Now, today I have with me my beloved friend and colleague, Craig Lyle. Hello, Craig.
Hi, Rose. How are you? Nice to see you again.
So good to see you. You look amazing. You know, talking about your hair growing longer and the time of your hair and all.
And you're just looking so vibrant yourself as well. You know, I can just see it's a while since we chatted, and I just see a lightness in you, and it's just beautiful to see. You know.
Well, I think when you're doing what you are meant to do, when you do the thing that makes your heart sing, then you can easily have joy. You don't have to try hard for that. Right?
Yeah.
So I'll tell our audience this. So Craig and I, what we have in common is that we are both South African born. Okay. And Craig moved to New Zealand, and so did I. We didn't know each other in South Africa, but we have come together here in this time and space, and we find that we have a lot of passion for people and love for people, and our hearts are always to be here to support humanity. And I guess that's what makes us so family. Yes, so good to have you on the channel, Craig. You're obviously one of the first people that I thought about to invite here to have a chat. Now, so Craig has left Auckland and has moved up north, and I think up north might have something to do with the new hairstyle. Right. So I'm going to say a little bit about what Craig does, and he's going to correct me or add to anything I might have missed out. Craig is an energy healer, a Reiki master, a medical intuitor, and an intuitive healer. So, did I get it right?
Yeah, Rose, it's always difficult to put these things into a name because a lot of people want in the third dimensional sense that when you say you're a Reiki master or whatever, something they understand, you know. But I really am more than anything an intuitive healer. It's taken a while to come to understand that that's my place, and it's okay for me to have my own uniqueness, whatever that may be. I don't need to put myself in a box. But besides those other things that I've done, I'm also a medium. You know, I speak to people that have passed away, often come up to me. I've also had quite a few prophecies come through to me. So prophecy is part of what I do. So when we connected spiritually, you know, there's a lot of different things we can do. But kind of healing is really my main focus, and intuitive healing, just trusting my guidance, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah, and your guidance system is never going to set you wrong. Even sometimes when you doubt it, you realize afterwards, oh, actually, I was being guided to the right thing, and I might have had resistance, if anything. And so you didn't say this, but I remember that you had done some healing for my dog Baxter. So you do healing, and you tune into the animals' energy as well. So you do stuff for the fur people on the planet.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. That's actually how I started. When I was back in South Africa, I did Reiki and realized that I was seeing things in people that I couldn't possibly know. And at that time, I was breeding with horses back in South Africa and had quite a few of them. And I started working on horses where they couldn't tell me anything. And I would run my hands over something and stop in a spot on a horse and say, that's where it's hurt itself. This is what it is, and people were just dumbfounded, you know, that I could pick it up. So I actually started with animals, with the horses. That's almost how I built up my confidence, because unless you're born with it, it's quite strange when you suddenly realize that you can see things and know things that are going on with people that you can't possibly know in just in the normal sense. And it takes a little bit of time to get your head around it. And I'm really working with the horses, animals, is where I actually started and realized, man, this horse can't be telling me anything. I have no idea, you know, and I was always right in my hands. When they stopped somewhere, it would always be in the right spot. And that actually gave me the confidence to then start working on people that have fallen off their horses, and hurt themselves. And I started there. And then from there, I realized, okay, I'm picking up stuff in people that I can't possibly know. In a sense, like a doctor would, I'm going to say, okay, this is where you've hurt yourself. This is bad. This needs 6 weeks worth of rest and that kind of stuff. And then it just evolved. When I came to New Zealand, I realized, connected with some Maori healers up here, I realized that I really am blessed to have this gift and that I really need to use it, So it's really New Zealand where I've just come into myself. And as we both know, it's a bit of a journey to grow. You don't just learn the stuff and know it. I suppose it's like a doctor, anybody else, any profession, you start and you learn. And as you go along, you gain more experience and knowledge and faith and trust in yourself and what have you. And I've just been really, really blessed to have had some amazing, amazing healings,
And I've been at some of your healing sessions, and I know the things that happen. I mean, even I've experienced your healing myself. And I just want to make a disclaimer to anyone. Like, what we're talking about is esoteric healing. It is not, we're not talking about clinical healing, and we're not saying in this conversation, be aware. The disclaimer is that we're not saying this is the only healing, and don't go to medical doctor or anything like that. That's not what we're saying. We're sharing this experience, and we're sharing that this is a gift. I'm going to say gift, but this is an offering for you. We don't say that it supersedes the medical professionals or anything like that. But we are, certified. In your case, Craig, you are certified Reiki Master. You are certified to do a lot of these things. When you said medical intuitive, you were certified to do that from what you were saying to me, right? And so I just want to say that to our audience, we're talking about this. And if you are listening to us and you're thinking, I'm a little skeptical about this, that's okay, because everybody has the right to think about these things in that way. But what I will say is that there is this side, and it does have important value to humanity. There's a huge amount of intuitive teachers and esoteric teachers, I would say, and it's always about the mind and the spirit, the intuition, all of that. So I just needed to say that, and I'm not going to go on about that too much, just basically point that out. Craig, what I wanted to go back to is, you said when you came to New Zealand, you recognized this, you started to apply your gifts, and you had made some connections with Maori. Our Maori brothers and sisters, and that's what I'm going to say, brothers and sisters, Maori community. How did they go about it? I mean, what about them made you realize that you have this intuition and these intuitive gifts?
And it's very interesting, Rose, you've mentioned about the sort of medical side of things. And as you say, I'm not a doctor of any sort, I don't claim to be that at all. But what people need to realize is often people think you're either spiritual or you're medical. And it's not. The two work hand in hand. We are blessed to have all these amazing medical people and these beautiful gifts that they have in different ways. And a lot of people feel like you're either one or the other, and that's not the case at all. The one just complements the other. So I'm not here to try and tell you you've got to go this way or do that way. Just in some ways, if you have a doctor, have an operation, whatever it may be, that's the right thing for you. But I can often help to just with some of those things. And a lot of it is often caused through emotion. Quite interesting. Today, I had someone I did a healing with, and she said her back had been troubling her for a long time. And that was a physical. She had had an injury, hurt her back, and it just sort of wouldn't go away. And she had some difficulties with a family member of hers, struggles as we often do with someone. And that person passed, and immediately her back was okay. So it's a physical, medical thing with the doctor saying, you've picked up this thing, you've hurt your back. Yes, there is that physical side of it. But then that starts to drag on and whatever, because there's an emotion, whatever, attached to it. And the minute her mother passed, she let go of that, and her back was fine. So there are other energetic things that sit in our bodies that are not necessarily understood by normal medicine. So I've been always interested in that. We come from South Africa, as you said, and the Sangomas, as they would call them there, which is a shaman. They have their medicines and their healing ways. So I've always been interested in in the African traditional healing, my main guide is a Native American. I have another guide who's an Aboriginal lady, and these are people that have either passed and come to me kind of as angels. The only way I can explain them. So when I came here, I was interested in connecting to the Maori people who I know have those same kind of traditional understanding of what they often refer to as ancestors, which is just people that have passed. If you take Christianity as an example, I mean, Jesus was an ancestor in a sense. He was a physical person on this earth that passed, in the same way a lot of those, like Maori people, Native Americans, African people, Aborigines, talk about their ancestors, people that are in the heavens that can perhaps still relay messages to them and help them. That's one of the things, like I said, mediumship is something which I have. And people will come to me that have passed away that I can't possibly know. And I'll explain it to this person and say, man, is this your father, mother, whatever passed that looked like this, that? I cannot know that, And they just have a message for them to just help them, either with their grief or whatever it may be. So it is a difficult one to explain, but I've just tried to connect with the indigenous people. And they refer to that as alternative medicine. But of course, that was the original medicine. It's actually the new science that's the alternative. That's our original for thousands and thousands of years. We heal people through people that had these spiritual gifts, knowing what plants to use and all those kind of things through experience and knowledge being passed down. So the alternative medicine is actually the original medicine, So it's a bit of a play on words.
I'm just finding at the moment that the native peoples are making their comeback, so to speak. Yeah. I really want to work with native people. I've also in my when I have recollections of my past life, I've been a medicine woman a Native American medicine woman. I've been with Native Americans in my past lives a lot. And my light language recently is sounded like Tereo, which is, for anybody listening, Tereo is the language, the name of the language that is spoken by our Maori community. And, even Aboriginal connections, I have that. Now, I was listening to Cryon a few months ago, and he was talking about people that were born in the time of Lemuria. And the Lemurians have reincarnated in New Zealand. So and for me, that was like a penny dropping, because it was like, wow, I've always had a connection to Lemuria. I felt that connection to Lemuria. And then when he said a lot of people from Lemuria have reincarnated in this lifetime in New Zealand, and I thought, I'm home.
Yeah.
I know that I've left South Africa and I've come here, but I've come back to my home. So, I'm very cheekily say that. Home, thank you very much. But and as you know, we are still so connected to Africa, because Africa is, whatever Africa is, it's still an amazingly vibrant, highly energized place. Quite misunderstood and ignored by the rest of the world. But it is still quite amazing. And, the animals, the African animals, you can't get them in any other places unless you're at the zoo. So I love my Africa stuff. Yeah.
Well, it's very interesting you talk about Lemuria and those kind of things. And I have an Arcturian guide, a number of Arcturian guides, which are the healing extraterrestrials. And it's interesting, some of so your story and my story, if we just open our minds to being, just allow that's your story. I'm here with my granddaughter up here in Kerikeri and take her to school and that kind of stuff. And she's 6 years old. And I encourage that imagination of hers, Often in the car, she'll be talking to imaginary friends, whatever. And I encourage that, because as we grow up, we lose that ability to just use our imagination. And if your story is a heap of absolute rubbish to somebody else, it doesn't matter. If it brings joy to you, and it's your story, it's your imagination, it's your creativity, and you live that through your life and connect with the people that understand that and are part of that and want to be part of it, that's just a beautiful thing. We don't have to, every one of us has our own path and our own story. Some people may not connect to that at all. It's okay. if we get to understand each one of us is coming down a different path. Although you and I both from Africa have certain things that we have in common in the third dimensional sense that we'll understand. Each one of us has our own story, and we're restricted in what we're allowed to think. The minute you get to school or whatever, as a 6-year-old kid, you're like, mate, you can't talk about that kind of stuff. Put you in a box, do this, that. If we could just get back into creating our own imagination, just enjoying what comes to us, whether it's true for you, and it resonates with you. It's your movie. If it brings joy to your life, that's great. If someone else thinks you're a nutcase, well, that's okay. They may have a different story. It's okay. And once we all learn to accept each other and our own stories, that everyone has their own story, and I don't mean everyone has their own path and story and hardships and all those kind of things. I mean it no more. We say, well, you're wrong talking about Lemuria or Arcturians. That's ridiculous. It doesn't matter if we just are creative enough to allow whatever to flow into us. We can then accept other people's different stories too. It's okay. And that's how we'll bring peace to this earth, is by just allowing us each to be ourselves as such.
Yes, I agree with that. And I think I just want to talk about Arcturian. I had Jane Scarrett talking to me a couple of days ago, and she briefly touched on Arcturian. And so, for those who haven't caught that video, the Arcturians are fifth dimensional. They are fifth dimensional beings, and they are in the constellation of Bootes, Bootes. If you want to look at the galactic map, and they come from Arcturus. Now, some call Arcturus a star, and some call it a planet. But what happens is they have done a lot of work here on the planet. They have been rooting for Earth to go through the transformation from the third to the fifth dimension. And they are here to help Earth and all of us, all the inhabitants of Earth, do that transformation. When I did some meditations with the group that channeled the Arcturians, they said, for what's unusual about Earth is that what the teaching was that what's unusual about Earth is that the planet is transforming or evolving from the third to the fifth dimension. The unusual thing is that so are the people. And it's not like it's a planet where people have been taken off, the planet transforms, and the people go back and they do their own transformation. And the galactic community are looking and watching. They're very interested in how this transformation happens on Earth. So I just wanted to say that, and we will talk about Arcturian again in the future. That's going to be a topic Jane and I will get back on air and we can talk about, but I just wanted to say that. Now, Craig's got Arcturian guides. I have my Arcturian guides, and they work with me all the time. But since we've stopped doing meditations with this group, the Arcturian guides are no longer in the forefront. They have sort of stepped back and they are protecting from the outside, because that's what the Arcturians are like. They're very gentle, loving soul beings, So what is your experience of the Arcturians then, Craig?
Well, it's just been absolutely fascinating. I don't really know much about extraterrestrials or whatever at all. And I thought, look, there's got to be something else out there. We can't be the only people in this huge space that's around that we can comprehend in our minds, and it's way beyond what we can comprehend. There's got to be something else out there. So we've always been open to the fact that there could be something else out there. What it looked like, I had no idea. And I got given this stone by somebody, a Moldavite, and this next morning, this extraterrestrial being just appeared in front of me in a light blue color. And I just saw him fleetingly, like I looked at it, I just saw him, I didn't even know the word Arcturians. And then I was Facebooking, it was during lockdown, I think in early 2020. And I was just Facebooking, and this Arcturian thing popped up. And I looked at, man, that's exactly who I just saw this morning. So we guided to things, So they are definitely there. And as it turns out, that blue and the Arcturians are the healing extraterrestrials, and I know that I'm a healer, and we had to talk about healing, so we'll get more into that, and I have them just coming in and guiding me. I've taken people up to spaceships, as you know, during the meditations that you were part of at a time. med beds which have been spoken about. I kind of take people into spaceships and into these med beds where I just then leave them with these Arcturians. And one of the things that I found for myself is that I don't interfere with the healing too much. So we spoke about when I said I'm an intuitive healer. So I don't have any preconceived ideas when I come to heal somebody or whatever. Even if they tell me, oh, so what's going on with you? So I can put that thought pattern out there. So the Arcturians, my Native American guide, whatever angels need to give me some guidance around that. They might show me something on TV, whatever. That's when I see it there, then it rings. I need to tell this person this. So those guides are always there, but I don't go with a preconceived idea of what I need to do. I allow my guides to intuitively give me information on the spur of the moment as such, And it's just so beautiful. The messages that come through from the Arcturians are just so beautiful, in that they know that we're going to this fifth dimension. And I really feel like I'm close to that most of the time myself, because I've really learned to just trust them, trust 100%. So, the Arcturians they are a beautiful race of people that have really come here to help us, And I'm just really blessed to connect to them quite strongly and have amazing interaction with them.
I am I can't agree more with that. And I am all the more better for having had any interactions with the Arcturians. I have been connected to the Pleiadians way back since like maybe 2013. And I didn't think I was connected to the Pleiadians. I just kind of started listening to different intuitive teachers. And then Barbara Marciniak came into my space, a friend of mine who was giving me all this, having a chat with me and talking about this stuff and talking about Neil Donald Walsh and all that. He mentioned Barbara Marciniak, and she was running these workshops that they were like 3 hours long. And I mean, one of the books is Bringers of the Dawn, that she's written and she's done workshops on. And then I realized later on, maybe like 5 years later, actually the reason that's coming to my space and I resonated so well is because I have Pleiadian heritage. And for anybody who doesn't know what Pleiadian is, well, we see it every night from August up to February. You see the Pleiades and Matariki in the sky. It's the seven sisters referred to in Maori culture. It is the cluster of stars that you can see in the eastern sky, close to Orion's belt and Aldebaran, and they twinkle all the time. So that's where the Pleiades is. But when the Arcturians came into my world, going back to them, I had no idea of them. I hadn't, explored any further. I had connections to Andromeda. I knew that instinctively, to Cassiopeia, to Andromeda, to Lyra. But I didn't feel connected to, I didn't know about Arcturus. And also, when you look up at the night sky and the stars that your eyes are automatically attracted to are the ones that we are likely to be connected to, Orion's belt is there all the time. It's been there all the time. Sirius has been there all the time. A lot of Sirians are on the planet at the moment, But anyway, back to the Arcturians. I feel like they chose me. They set me up in such a way that I would find them. They've been there all the time, but they just chose me. And, I love them. I so love them.
Yeah. But it's one of the things, Rose, that I do a lot of. I do a lot of distant healing, which I think So I do distant healings all over the world, in America, Australia, England, Germany, India, Kenya, South Africa. I've done distant healings all over. And what I find really helps me with the Arcturians is I know that they are not close to us. I know they're not sitting up just, 30,000 meters or just above where the planes fly, whatever. They could be, I don't know, so far away from here, I can't comprehend the distance. So when I need to go from here in New Zealand to Europe, whatever, which is say 10 or 20,000 kilometers from here, I know that I'm connecting to these Arcturians that are maybe 100 million miles from here, whatever it may be, something we can't even comprehend, that sort of thing. And so it's really helped me with distant healing, and that I know if I can sense them coming from that far, I know I can send that to a person just 1,000 kilometers or 10,000 or 20,000 kilometers. It's literally just like your neighbor next door, And the other thing that I'm very, very blessed with, and it has been prophesied for me, and I've always felt this within myself, that I will heal thousands of people at a time. And that's not me. We all have our own part to play here. It's like you say, I know I've come here as a healer, and that the Arcturians, you say, have chosen me to do healing work. And I really know that in some way, shape, or form, I will heal thousands of people at a time. And I've been told that. And that's because I know the Arcturians, spirit, God, whatever you want to call it, can be everywhere at one time. So connecting to those Arcturians and knowing it's something I can't really comprehend in my human mind, but I accept that they are able to do things way beyond my comprehension. And that's really enabled me to do my healings around the world and know that in time. And I've done group healings, as you know. I've done 20 people in 20 minutes, and had miraculous healing. So it's beautiful to work with them.
I think with them, it is about accepting that they're and just being, and everything else will work out. Because in our meditations, we have gone up to the Starship Athena. We have gone to the healing chambers. We have gone and healed ourselves. We have gone and connected with our fifth dimensional selves. And, I think that was one of the best times of my life when I was doing that work. And I no longer work with this group because my guides have asked me to move on from it, because, that was time to do that, because I'm never really staying with a group forever or whatever. I'm pretty much alone, really. But the thing is, whilst being a loner, I have all of you, and I have so many connections. And I know that if somebody is needing something, I know whose number to call and say, hey, I've got a friend who needs healing, pray. Can you help her out? Or, I know where to go. I just said to somebody earlier today, because she had some symptoms in the last 2 weeks, and she had to go to the doctor rather urgently, etc. Because that she'd never had before. It was an infection. It's a woman thing, and I won't go into it. But she was so unwell that she was freaking out, and she'd never been like that before. Now, I won't say too many things, but simply, what's happened in our world in the last 3 years, a specific thing that people have taken that's caused them to have, conditions. And if you get a condition that you had before, it's more intense than it's ever been before. And so, as I was leaving, I said, if you need anything, if you need somebody who could help you out, I know people. I say this to everybody who's in that situation. I know people who can do it. Right? And usually you'd be the person I'd send somebody like that to, because, I know I've seen what you can do. Yeah. And I know that, I can trust that if she comes to you, that she's going to be taken care of from that perspective. But I mean, look, this conversation feels like we're talking more about the Arcturians, but it's about the Arcturians because you work with them. Your work is with them. They are the ones that are giving you a lot of the support in terms of healing and stuff like that, right? So
it's not only that. Now, it's quite interesting. You spoke about feeling alone, and when you say the Arcturians, those myself here, I'm possibly Arcturian, spiritually, whatever. My Native American guide from maybe a couple of hundred years ago could have been of Arcturian connections, the Aboriginal guide that I'm working with, so although we talk of these other people as third dimensional earthly beings, as we see them, as myself, yourself, standing there, my chief, Auntie Jasmine, as I call her, Aboriginal, they are from the stars possibly themselves that have just come in this third dimensional thing. But the interesting thing that you mentioned about the being alone, often a lot of us, yourself, me, and so many of us that were born, and I use the word different, we just didn't fit in. And we've often felt alone. We've got friends all around us, yet we feel like we don't fit in. But now I'm getting to where I really am fitting in, because it's like my tribe, for want of a better word. As you said, you and I haven't spoken for a very long time. And we spoke, and it's like, as I said, I'm just getting goosebumps all over me. I mean, the connection's there. It doesn't matter that we haven't spoken for 6 months or a year or whatever it is. It's just like family. It's like, oh, gee, how are you doing? It's like, it doesn't seem like I didn't speak to you a while ago. And we are really starting to find each other now. And I just was watching something interesting now recently to talk about the earth that could split, and it's actually two different earths. earths, and it's going to be two different earths, those in the third dimension that we be stuck here in the fifth dimension. So for me, I don't see it being two earths step away. And the Bible kind of talks about that in the rapture, where, you know, those will go to heaven and the others will stay down here in hell or whatever it may be. So there's a lot of religions or stuff that's been written in from native people and whatever that kind of tie up that. If you just look at the dots, they tie up. And in a sense, it's getting to, as you said, where we're moving into a fifth dimension, and we will be living on this earth in peace, harmony, connecting with each other, all of those of us that have this fifth dimensional connection, and we'll have a beautiful life. And there'll be people on the same planet, but they won't be we won't see them. It's hard to explain. It's like it's almost like the world will have separated, and they'll be on earth over here and we'll be here. I don't see it like that. I think it's the same earth, but we will, like our movie, will not show those things. Their movie will be different to ours in the same place, if that makes sense, you know. We're really connecting to each other, and we're not alone anymore. We realize, man, there are a lot of us around. It's beautiful.
So we never really are here, are we? But what I want to say about that is, in terms of the third dimension, fourth dimension, fifth dimension, because, you know, we had to go through the fourth dimension to get into the fifth dimension, and a lot of us are living through different dimensions, and sometimes this is where the challenges have been, because we are aiming for the fifth dimension, and then you suddenly having third dimensional stuff pulling you back, because we are multidimensional at this point if we're going through the transformation. But I heard something recently which made me feel really good, because I thought I like what I'm hearing from the perspective of somebody said, remember that third dimensional people who are I'll start again. People have a soul contract to stay in the third dimension.
Yeah.
We must not ridicule. We must not think we're better.
Yeah.
We must just accept that all of us have our own soul contract. And a lot of people on the planet at the moment have their soul contract is not to do the transformation. Yeah. It is to stay where they are, and they will do whatever. They will go on and do whatever they're meant to be doing in that third dimensional space. Because I have a friend, you know, and he so professes to be up with the play about everything and all of that. But when it comes to anything esoteric, it's like, nah, talk to the hand, don't want to talk about it. You know, I don't think that stuff exists. Yeah. I get quite frustrated with him, because he likes to have these debates with me sometimes, you know, and tell me how mumbo jumbo, all the stuff I believe in is. And when I heard that, it made me feel better, in the sense that I thought it's a lesson to me to leave him be where he is and not get into these conversations with him, because he's never going to hear that, because that's not his.
Yeah, absolutely. And I spoke about it earlier, but each one of us has a story. So for me, personally, just my understanding of things, and you're of Indian descent, and the saying is Namaste, which means the God in me sees the God in you. God is within each and every one of us. Whether you, as I say, person stuck in that third dimension, as you call it, not prepared to shift, whatever. When you pass from this physical body here, your God part of you goes back to God, to spirit, whatever you call it. So we're all actually connected. We're all part of the same energy, the same God, and the easy way of explaining it. You know, we all go back to God. We all go back to the same source. So that person is just playing their part here. And it's a difficulty for people when you feel, I've got to bring this person along with me. And that could be, you know, siblings, parents, siblings, whatever it may be. For, man, this is my sister. I've got to bring her along with me. No, she has her own path to walk. If she's staying here and that's her thing and mine is just, that's okay. When we both pass and go to heaven, we'll sit down in the normal sense. We'll sit down and have a drink together and a chat and a laugh. You know, it's like, okay, that's what I was here to do, and that's what you were here to do. And that's what we need to realize. We don't have to try and bring people along. Each person has their part to play. You know, it's okay.
I think this thing of we need to take people with us comes from being in church, because, you know, when I was in church, that was the thing. You wanted to pray and you wanted to convince people in your family, in your community, that Jesus was the way, because that is what it was. Jesus was the way, and the only way to heaven was through Jesus. And through the years, we've come to learn that there's a lot of distortions in that philosophy. And once it's okay that, Jesus was the way, but how he was the way was the important thing, because he came and he lived his life and he showed us how we could be. He showed us the power that we have within us, because he said it as well. What I do this, but you will do greater things, and so he was trying to awaken us to the true selves that we are, the empowered beings, creative beings that we are. But coming back to that, so we always have this thing of, oh, if you go to church, then you must now get everybody else saved because Jesus is the way. What is that song? Jesus is the answer for the world today. Above him, there's no other. Jesus is the way, right? So it was just, I think, Jesus showed us the way to ourselves, showed us and gave us a picture of what we are and what we and even better than he was. And so the churches that we went to taught us that we should be trying to get all our family and friends to heaven with us. And I'm coming to realize that it's coming back to the soul contract. What is your soul contract? And like you're saying, just because your soul contract is to transform to the fifth dimension, doesn't mean your sisters is or your brothers is. It's just going to be, they have to do what they have to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a very interesting one. Of course, Jesus is a often a difficult subject often, but if people look at Jesus, the man himself, like when he said, "I'm the way, the truth, and the light," as you're saying, for me, he was saying exactly what you're saying. Look at what I'm doing, because that same light that's within me is within you. The Christ light that's within me is within you. But that's a very tricky subject, but I interpret it similar to you in that he was saying that the lights, that Christ light that's within me, I see the Christ light within myself. You need to see it in yourself. So I'm not comparing us to him. He had an amazing understanding and was it would appear to be a beautiful soul and did all those miraculous things. But what he's saying, any one of us can do that. And I realize that. And that's why I have a lot of the miraculous healings that I have, because I have complete and absolute faith. And it's not in the Christian sense. I have complete and absolute faith that I'm not the one doing the healing. It cannot happen without me. Like Jesus was here, he did the healing, but God, whatever you call it, Christ light, came through him. And I know I can do any healing. And it's not an arrogance or whatever, but I know if Spirit God chooses to send that healing through me, anything can be healed, And that's what really helps me. And the big thing about my healing is it's not just physical healing. So I can take pain away from people. I can run my hands over someone and say, "Oh, you got something going in your stomach." I've picked up, tumors and things in people that I can't know. Look, you need to go to a doctor. And then the same thing. I've picked up something in someone. In fact, it was a spirit festival a couple of years ago where I was just drawn to this man. And I went to him and said, "I know this is strange, but I need to run my hands again." I stopped and said, "There's something going on here. You need to go and see a doctor." And I saw his wife 3 years ago, about 6 or 8 months ago. He said, "Thank you very much," because it turned out that he did have cancer on his pancreas or whatever. And she said, it really helped him. So in my case, I know that I can heal that if it's God's will, for want of a better way of putting it. But I'm using my gift to say to this person, something's going on with you. Go to Western medicine because they can help you. And that actually illustrates my point we started off with very clearly. I'm not saying, listen, I'm the person that's going to heal you, whatever. Yes, some things I can help you with, but I'm someone that has the ability to know that something's not right with you and that you need to get something done, whether that's an operation to sort it out, chemo, if that's your choice, whatever it is. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just blessed to have this gift to know that something's not right. And I may either be able to help you in some way. In that case, my helping him was just letting him know that something wasn't right, because he said he would have had no idea. It would have been when he got far down the way, he would have realized, oh, this is quite bad now, and it may not have been the outcome that has been now. So it's a really good illustration of how we can assist each other with Western medicine, as I call it, and those of us that have these gifts.
Now, not to harp on it or anything like that, but I think it was apt to talk about Jesus. Because he only got healing and he didn't want healing. And, we quoted what he said. We're saying, hey, you know what? This is what we do, what you're doing in terms of healing and all of that. This has been done. It's been done by the greatest teacher ever. And also, I kind of lost contact with Jesus when I left the church. in 2007. And the Arcturians brought him back because he is, they work a lot with the Ascended Masters, with Chief Warrior, and with Sananda. They refer to him as Sananda Jesus. Sananda Jesus.
Yeah.
I love it because you know what? His life in India is not spoken of at all.
Yeah.
He was called Sananda. And I just for anybody who doesn't know that, he's called Sananda. And so the Arcturians refer to him as Sananda Jesus. And I love him. And you know what I think? He would have been a cool dude.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing about it is that, we were brought up, and so many of us, you, me, in this conversation, and so many of our friends, as you know, our spiritual friends, have been brought up in a Christian upbringing and been pushed away from Christ.
Yes.
A lot of us have been, and I was the same. You rebel against it, pushed him away. And now that I've come to understand him and connect with him in a spiritual sense and not in a religious sense, it's like, wow, it's a completely different way of looking at the Christ consciousness. When you step away from the religion that's been taught. A lot of us were pushed away, and around the world, Christianity has been pushed away from a lot of people, and we are testimony to that. And so many of our friends, and you'll know many of them have the same experience of us, where they've stepped away from it and come back to Christ in a completely different light. I work with the Christ consciousness a lot, with Jesus, whatever, it often just appeared to me, and it's a beautiful, beautiful energy. It's just not a religious energy, it's a spiritual energy.
That's really amazing.
It's a Christ consciousness.
We talk about everything because we have this amazing, we have the stuff that we're so excited about and we share with the world and all of that.
Yeah.
So we're talking about your healing, coming back to healing. Craig, I want to know, for the benefit of our audience, how do you do your healing? I know how you do your healing. We talked about that you've done healing. I've had a healing session with you, etc. Can you tell us what you do to heal people? Like, do you meet them? How do you do it? Whatever it is that you do in terms of how you do your healing that you want to tell us about, please, so they know what it's about.
Yeah, so what I've realized that my healings, as I say, and I put of mind, body, and spirit, because a lot of it can be the physical body where I can connect. So I have an intuition where I can, and I do this whether I'm sitting with you on my healing bed or with you 20,000 kilometers away. It makes absolutely no difference. I will run my hands over you in my mind. I do healings of photographs, as you know, for dogs and animals. People just send their picture, and I'll just connect to it and work from there. So I really just connect, and I suppose the easy way to explain it would be to connect to a person's spiritual self, to their higher selves, to their soul, whatever you want to call it. I'm connecting in my third dimensional mind, and often I'll get messages and guidance from my guides that are third dimensional stories, like Native American things with a rattlesnake or a horse doing something, whatever, that I can understand in my third dimensional mind. And I'm blessed to be able to translate this and understand what they're trying to tell me in the message. So I really, the healing that I do is physical, emotional, and spiritual. And one of the greatest things that I do is actually the spiritual side of healing, because most people that come to me are actually spiritually aware in some way, shape, or form, and it could be the beginning stages of it. And one of the things, and you asked me at the beginning, what do you do? And there are so many things so what I find is that 99% of people that come to me are spiritually aware in some way or other, and that I actually help them to unlock their spirituality and just either move up another level, see things differently. People often say, "Oh man, I feel so much lighter." Like you've just taken a load of that sort of, and just lifted my understanding of spirituality to another level. So the main part of my healing is spiritual. Sometimes things will come to me and I'll bring them up if it comes, but I found that just generally, I trust that your higher guidance and my higher guidance knows what's best for you, and that healing will happen. I don't try and figure out what do I need to heal. Do I need to find out the story, tell you about it, bring it up? No, I trust that our etheric selves will know what needs to be done. My etheric self will bring through the energy, the healing that's needed for you, and you will know how to accept that, transmute it into your body, release whatever needs to out of your physical cells that are sitting as tension, memories, whatever it may be in your body. So my healing's quite unique in that it's a spiritual etheric healing. And often people can feel, I just had someone at my daughter's shop who had a headache, and I was doing healing for it in the office. And one of the other ladies who's quite new walked in, and she kind of stopped and she said, "Wow," she said, "there's a strong energy in here, you know?" So she felt that energy straight away. So in the normal sense, I don't, but when I'm doing, it's an energy that I don't really even know where it is, how far it goes. But she literally almost stops. I can feel this energy, you know? It's really powerful. So it's an energetic shift in a person's, probably in their auric fields and what have you, in their spiritual side more than their physical body. Although I release physical pain, tension from people as well. For me, I think the biggest part of my healing is actually a spiritual healing and lifting you to a different level and opening you up to connect to spirit more, you know. People just feel much happier, connecting to spirit easier. It's really beautiful. I'm very blessed, you know.
I feel like something moved, something changed, right? I mean, I've been there, I've done it. I know what that feels like when you've done it, you just feel like, oh yeah, I've run a marathon or something lifted, and I feel lighter, and I feel just like, because when you have a shift in your body that is energetic shift, the body feels it. But when it's genuine and it's real and it's happened, you feel it within the body. Even your voice might change, and you might become a little bit lazy, which kind of makes you realize actually the shift was that intense, or that a shift actually happened.
Yeah.
So when you do your healing, where can any audience find you if they wanted to contact you?
Yeah, so I'm about to move to a new place at the end of this month here in Kerikeri, where I've found a place with a healing room outside where I'm going to be staying. So it's really close to town. It's the center of town. So I'll be starting to do more in-person healings there as well in Kerikeri. And this Bay of Islands is quite a big area here. So a lot of people know me here. So I'm going to start doing physical healings in that space. End of this month when I get back from Spirit Festival and a few other things I've got on. I'll be doing it physically with people in that space. But a lot of the healings that I do, and what I quite enjoy doing is distant healings via Zoom, Messenger, and that kind of thing, because it's just, you spoke about the last 3 years, and that's where I got to understand more that I could. I've always done distant healing, and it's part of Reiki. You learn to do distant healing, and it's something I've always done. But I really, with the lockdowns, I learned to do it a lot quicker because we couldn't see people, And I realized that there's no difference at all whether I'm with a person or not, because I'm connecting, as I say, to the energetic field. So I do a lot of distant healings via Zoom, as I say, Messenger, whatever. So
you'll give us your links and stuff like that. I'll put it in your chat box, so that people are able to contact you, even your website, because this is how people can get in touch with you.
Yeah. So I've tried to keep it simple. It's just Craig Lyle, which is my name, healer. So the website's www.craiglylhealer.com. And then I've got a Facebook page, Craig Lyle Healer, and you can book through either the website or my Facebook page. You can book directly on there. My fees are on there, the different things that I do. I normally do a couple of things. I have sort of a 15-minute healing where someone has a sore shoulder. I can normally just tap in 10, 15 minutes, feel the pain shift, sort it out. I have a 20-odd minute chakra balancing, which is just going through energy centers and just seeing where you're blocked and just helping you to realign yourself. And then I get to sort of a half-hour healing, which I do a fair amount of. But the one I do the most is an hour healing, what I call a full session. Because a lot of things, you've got to have a physical pain somewhere, but we are very complex beings, as you know. Humans are very complex. And we think, I've just got a sore shoulder. And then I'll go to your sore shoulder and say, what happened here? What's going on with this? You just stopped work or you're doing that. It's like we are tied to so many things in our minds and past, future, present, whatever. We are complicated beings, and I find that hour gives me time to physically go through a person, pick up what's going on, chat about a few things, and then the healing from there just release what needs to be done. So mostly what I do is kind of an hour healing, but I can do whatever in between. And dogs and animals normally just half an hour because I find they connect with us much quicker. Humans, are complicated, so we tend to block things. Is this person trying to find out stuff about me? Shouldn't I be saying this or whatever? Our minds running overtime. The first thing I normally say to people: listen, I'm here to help you. I have unconditional love for everybody and everything on this planet. That's in my spiritualness. Doesn't mean that I'm not a human and that I can get angry and that I'm not always the nicest person to be around. I try to be. That's what we'd like to be, but life gets in the way of things sometimes. Whatever. But I have unconditional love for everybody from a spiritual point of view. I've come here to help you, not to find out what anything of your past, what you've done, and judge you, anything at all. I'm purely here. So it doesn't matter what you've done. If you happen to murder somebody, that's I can't. I'm not saying that's right, but I can't say what's created things for you in your life. I'm here to help you to move forward and become your best self. That's what I'm here for.
It's like an unspoken confidentiality clause that you have.
Yes.
I mean, when you are healing people and when people that come for healing, they need help. And quite often, if it's physical, the physical is indicative of the metaphysical. There's a metaphysical reason, right?
Yeah.
Sore shoulder, there's a metaphysical reason for that, right? And quite often the metaphysical will have something to do with a past life or a relationship or in the current life or whatever, a thought pattern, a block in the energy coming from whatever. So at the end of the day, I think if we are here to truly do the work that we come to do, then our judgment is not something we are needing to do. We will adopt. I know I won't adopt it myself, when somebody's going through something, I don't do what you do, but, I do healing through light language from time to time for friends and people acquaintances that are open to it. But I don't do it as a professional. You do it as a professional. And so I think that's the thing. Open hearts by the practitioner is very important. Unconditional love is a given. There is no question about it. Yeah. So I say this I know you know that, but I say this for the benefit of our audience, because just remember that whatever it is, whatever's happened in the past, you're not doing it now. It's the past. What you wanted to do is get freedom and liberation from that thing that keeps holding you back and causing you pain, or if not causing you pain, creating blocks in your mind about all that stuff. So, always feel free. If you go to an energy healer or somebody who's doing the work that Craig's doing, remember that you should never feel judged. If you have a sense of judgment, then think on it. Think whether that's you judging yourself or whether that person might be giving you a vibration. Work with somebody who is unconditional.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You also just reminded me of something else that I do, which is really unique. And we spoke about the Arcturians and whatever, and some of the stuff that seems a little bit crazy. But as you're talking about the shoulder, what it reminded me of someone that I did a healing for recently. I felt like a knife had been stabbed into their neck and gone right through into their heart, And it was to do with some of the stuff she's struggling with in this time now. And some of the stuff that I see can seem quite strange. He said, actually someone told me in a past life that I was stabbed or whatever, and that's this pain is in my heart. So some of the stuff is quite crazy. You can go back to past lives. And the other thing that I do through the Arcturians is I remove what they call microchips. And there are not a lot of us around the world that do it. There are people that do it. And it's a metaphoric terminology for a program that's been put into your body, your soul, coming into this life. And I do it quite often. And I've had some massive, massive healings with people from really dark backgrounds, satanic upbringings and whatever, like really indoctrinated, really difficult upbringings. And I've removed these, what I call microchips, which is quite unique. And it's taking that programming that's not just from this lifetime of being brought up in I use the example of a Satanistic cult or whatever. There are lots of cults that may appear not to be Satanistic, but have their things as well, But anyway, and I remove that microchip from the person, which is a programming that's been put in there either from extraterrestrials from other planets that have dark intentions, that put it into this, and either in this lifetime, could be from a few thousand, I either go back into the past, into the future, because we see this timeline as where we are now. But as Einstein said, past, present, and future are all on the same line. We're just sitting in this point of the line. And I find it quite interesting and sometimes fascinating when I go in and I think I'm going to go back into your life to remove this microchip, and I go forward 10,000 years. It doesn't make sense to my human mind that something could have been put into this person 10,000 years in the future that's affecting them now, because we can't really comprehend it. But I'm a conceptual thinker. I get the concept that spirit understands it, knows what needs to be done, and I remove these microchips, which is just a terminology for programming that holds a lot of spiritual people back from fulfilling their destiny here, And that's a huge gift that I have as well. I'm very blessed with it.
It's a very exciting time, everyone, for us, because we have a variety. In fact, we have a buffet or a smorgasbord, for want of word, of options for how we will heal ourselves and how we will help ourselves learn and grow in this time and space and choose the life we want, choose the process we want to take in this time. It's very exciting. I know it doesn't feel like that when we look at everything happening around the world, but I feel very much like now is the time for us to start looking at that more than looking at what's happening here, who's doing this, what politician said that or whatever. And so, we know all of this is going to happen. We just want to work toward that thing that evolves ourselves and, oneself and move forward. And these are all the options we have available to us. It's not just that I'll go to my GP because I've got a pain in my shoulder. There are times when you go to the GP and pain in the shoulder doesn't go, not because the GP is not good enough, but only because there's another reason for it. It's not, and it can be a metaphysical reason, not that it's just about the physical and I'm going to get the answer, that will be it. So this is why it's a time where energy healers, light workers, star seeds, supernovas are all coming to the forefront on the planet, because we have come for this time and space. We have come to say the systems are breaking down, but the systems are breaking down because the new is coming into being, and we are part of that new being, a reality and an everyday thing. That's the past. Yeah.
Absolutely. We've spoken about this often. Prophecies of the Native Americans, the Hopi Native Americans, African prophecies, Aboriginal prophecies, Maori prophecies, all over the world. They talk about the world getting to peace, that there's an option of the world destroying itself again, or when we get past a certain point, we will get to peace. And the Hopi Native American one is the most common one, which is they have the prophecy rock in Arizona. Sedona, I think it's in the desert there somewhere, and how the prophecy rock shows that,
Yes.
And we passed that point. The light's coming. And I saw the prophecy when I came to New Zealand. I got the prophecy, the world's going to change from New Zealand. This is where it's going to start from. The light's coming. And if we keep concentrating on all the things that are going wrong, and when I just take an example from a year or two back, people were thinking within a week, things are going to change. Everyone is going to see what's happening. And now we are 2 years down the line, and I can see that some of those things are starting to come out, for want of a better word. And we are impatient as humans. As we are very impatient. Like we ask for a partner. So someone will tell you, a partner's coming to you. It's okay. So is that when I walk out the door, I'm going to bump into somebody? No, it could be years down the line. We're impatient. We want things to happen immediately. And I'm a very impatient person. But as I've learned to trust, and I spoke about the faith and the trust, I'm now looking back and seeing, man, from that 2 years ago when I thought it may be a month or two, it's taken 2 years, but what I saw and felt, it's come. It's just taken longer than us in our third dimensional set. So we need to know the light's coming. Nothing can stop it. So we can choose to know that it's coming and live in that beautiful space. I spoke about the two universes. We can choose to live in the beautiful light universe where everything's hunky-dory, and not everything's hunky-dory. We know that there's always going to be weather things that happen to us, all sorts of things. That's how life is. People get sick, they pass. That's all part of the life. I'm not saying everything is just beautiful. Or we can live on that other one where everything is terrible and the government's wrong and this is wrong, we can't get that right, and crime's up and that's up. It's a choice. And I'm choosing to live on that other planet as such, where I know those other things are happening, but I'm not living in them because I know the light's coming.
That's right. It's not saying, like we've been hearing a lot, we create our own reality. And so that's it. We create our own reality. So what reality do you want to create for yourself, ultimately, at the end of the day? Is it? I don't know if you remember this song. I spoke about this earlier today to somebody, and I'll tell you about it. There's a gospel singer called Ron Canoli, and he was around in the 90s. And I remember because in the early 90s, I was in church. And there was a song. I don't know if the song is called Whose Report Will You Believe, right? But it was passionate and it was awesome, and you could dance to it, and the choir was like, and so the song, some of the lyrics goes like this. So whose report will you believe? Whose report will you believe? And the answer to the question in the song is, we shall believe the report of the Lord. Now, right now, we have got so many reports, news reports, all those reports going on, we hear this, we hear that, whatever, right? There are millions of reports going at the moment. Yeah. So again, it comes back to whose report will you believe? And if you are going to believe the report of the Lord, so what report is that? For me, the report of the Lord is my report. What is my inner being saying about this thing that's going on? Right? And if your journey on this planet at this time is evolution to the fifth dimension, what's going to happen? Your inner being is going to keep pushing you. Come on, come this way, come this way.
Yeah.
So it's like Abraham Hicks says, if I would come this way, come this way. Yeah. So I think this is what we have to remember in this time and space. And we are the collective. We create what's going on collectively. We only admit that we sometimes we don't want to admit that what I'm doing, my thought, my anger, whatever, contributes to the greater group or whatever. So if we all start to look forward and say, well, I'm looking at that thing that is fifth dimensional, and I'm going to get in touch with that greater self, the higher self, and then I'm just going to go for that violence. And only good things are going to start coming, because once it's been tough, we know that's been tough. It's been challenging, right? For some of us more than others. But it's that inner being that is the guidance system that you have that is going to give you the report you need to believe and trust in to carry on in terms of your soul's journey that lines up with the contract, your soul contract that you have here on this planet.
Yeah.
And time space. Anyway, sorry, I say it all. Great. So you told us how you do the healing. So is there anything you're doing currently that you want to share, like that you've offered to your clients that you want to share with our audience?
Yeah, I'm going to Spirit Festival, which is next week. I think it's from the 9th through the 12th or somewhere there. Thursday next week, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Spirit Festival, which is done in Auckland side. That's a beautiful festival, really well attended. Some beautiful people going there. Dr. Bruce Lipton's giving a talk there again this year, and he's just a guy that was at Harvard University, and I'm just seeing things in a different light to how he was supposed to see them. And he's just a really great speaker to come there. But I'll be doing healing there, so I'll have a healing stand, and I really look forward to it. It's a really lovely energy down there. There's a lot of healers, readers, yoga, music, all sorts of things, and a lot of workshops. That's a very beautiful festival. So that's next week. I'm going to that. Then I'll be in Pukekohe on the 25th, 26th of this month. Pukekohe's got a mind, body, spirit down there. So I'll be down there for that. And then so that's what I'm doing at the moment. Is those two are coming up in the next couple of weeks.
I will put all of that in the chat box so people know where to find you. if they want to come along, if they're going to those festivals and they want to come along and have an experience of your healing.
Yeah.
And as I said, I'll do the website. For our audience today, when you're offering them something like, did you say something about a 15-minute consult?
Rose, it's often difficult for people sometimes to get an understanding of things. So what I like to offer as a person, just a 15-minute chat as such, call it a consultation, where I just ask a few questions and people get to see whether I'm able to help them or not. So just a 15-minute consultation, which I give to a person free, get a bit of an understanding of what's going on with them, what I can help with. Sometimes people say, look, that's not my expertise. This is the person you need to speak to. I know I have a number of amazing gifts, but those gifts and the things I do is what I do. What you do is what you do. What Pauline, a friend of mine who I think you know, who's coming down to Spirit Festival, we're traveling down together. She has her stuff she does and readings and that kind of stuff and channeling Arcturians. Every one of us has our own skills. So, but generally, if you're drawn to me, we can have a bit of a chat. If you've been drawn to me, then you've been sent by Spirit, if I can put it that way, So just like a 15-minute consultation, have a bit of a chat. I can let you know what I do, get a sense of who I am. If you feel you'd like to get further in from me, then we can book something from there,
Absolutely. So, and I will put the 15-minute offer in the chat box as well. So, Craig, anything else you want to tell us before we round up our interview today or our chat?
Yeah, and just the thing that I did want to just reiterate is that the light's coming. It is hard for us in this time, and particularly some of us that are struggling in a third dimensional sense in what we think we should have and those kind of things where it's not coming easily. I just want people to know that the light is coming and that this healing modality that we have, we're going to go back to the future, as I put it from that movie from Michael J. Fox, back to the future, which is back to these old ways. I come from English descent and Scottish descent, you have Indian descent. Our ancestors had all these gifts. They just got lost in time, over time. Some of the Native Americans and our African people back in Zulus, where we come from, have kept that culture going, and they still have their shamans, and that was we lost it along, not with Indian people, but English people in particular had just lost it. Those gifts that I have come down through the ages. They've been there, and everybody has them. I've just been blessed to have kind of awoken to mine. Everybody has them. There's nothing special about me. I've just become aware of the gifts that I have, and it's an alternative way of healing, but it's the way we need to move forward because there's so much going on at the moment, and you spoke about it these last 3 years, that we're really not quite sure what we can trust and can't trust. So I'm not saying don't go to a doctor. As I say, not at all. If you need to go to a doctor, you need to go to a doctor, no problem. But we also need to start looking at some alternative ways of helping us be healthier, that we're letting go of the anger, frustration, resentment, that they're not making us carry dis-ease that later troubles us, So the alternative healing is something that's going to become more and more sought after. Because it's not just healing of the body. Like you said, you spoke about the shoulder. The doctor can give you painkillers, anti-inflammatories, pain will go away. 2 months later, you've got it back again because you haven't released the energetic thing that's creating it.
Core of it. The core of it. What's the source of it?
It could go away and it's done and it's gone. But if there is something else, the trauma that keeps bringing it up for you, the doctor can't release that. That's different.
So remind us again about your website, please.
So it's www.craiglylehealer.com. That's my website. On Facebook's the same, just Craig Lyle Healer. So
Great.
Facebook as well, yeah. And then I'm on Messenger and Telegram and all the other things,
Of course, being available on many platforms, so people there's that sense of availability, right?
Yeah.
So, Craig, thank you so much today for joining me and coming to talk. I would love to have you back, and I am going to invite you back to talk. Yeah. I'm really excited about this channel, as I think you can tell, because I feel like New Zealand healers and energy workers need to have a platform. Other countries have it. If there is one in New Zealand, I don't know of it. And I just thought we need to have one. And because I do this and I have, people coming on radio on East FM and talking to me about self-talk, self-love, all that good stuff, meditation, yoga, all that. And anything galactic, by the way, I'll say. I thought we might do one on YouTube and see how that goes, because then we give more people the opportunity to come online and talk about their offering, because we have got some phenomenal energy in New Zealand. They're just not given they're just not out there and being for us to be able to see them. They're just quietly doing their work as we do in New Zealand. That's what we do, right?
Yeah. There's more amazingly gifted people, as there are all around the world.
Yeah.
But New Zealand's become quite a well-known place around the world, and it's a good time. And a lot of people have been drawn, very spiritual healers that have been drawn to New Zealand. Like you said, you were sort of drawn to here. I just had to come here for whatever reason. So there's a lot of spirituality here, and we just need to get that out to the world,
So why I felt one of the things that inspired me to do this is often, we hear about energy healer doing a specific thing. Like my example was a few weeks ago, I heard about this person who does readings, Akashic readings. And I thought, all right, I should probably go and have a look and see what more about. So I know, about my going into the Akashic and for me and see what it's all about. But they were asking for 333 pounds.
Sure.
And I thought, wow. And so I spoke to another lady that does light language and talks with me on radio. I said, this is what I found out. And she said, Bruce, there are people that live in New Zealand. Don't have to go that far. And then I thought, I think we need to start talking more about the things that we have in New Zealand. It kind of reiterated the fact that I was thinking we don't have a good platform for this. And here we are. This is why we're doing it, because we need to tell people that our people are here. They don't have to go far and wide for it. It's here. We appreciate all the far and wide. Believe me, we have a lot from our teachers in the United States and in the United Kingdom, wherever we learn from. But we're a country that is highly spiritual, highly intuitive. We've got an amazing native people. The people of the land, they have made some amazing things happen on this planet. They are so connected to the stars. They're so connected to the land and the sea and the mountains. And so definitely spirituality is in it. Definitely esoteric is in it. And we're not going to lie down and not do anything about it. We're going to talk about what we have.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I'm sure you know about my friend on Wahiki Island who does Akashic records. She's pretty good.
She's the lady who came and talked to me about, I'm not going to say her name because we haven't asked permission to do that, but is she the lady that talked to me on radio about Matawiku?
No, that's someone else. Yeah. And she's really good. And I was on Wahiki a couple of weekends ago. We just had a retreat, the Valentine's retreat, and a few people I met that had readings from her, and they speak very highly of her. And I've heard readings myself, and she is quite amazing. She's amazing. And she does, and she's not 330 pounds.
Not 333 pounds, no. You can connect it with me. I'd love to talk to you.
Yeah, I'll do that too.
All right, time to love and leave you.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's pick you up, because I'll talk to you after we've gone the platform. But I just want to say goodbye. Thank you to you, Presley. Thank you so much. I so appreciate your love and time, because this is not just your love and time toward me. I know that it's towards the greater community, the good of the community. That is what we support here.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it.
I just want to say thank you to you to stepping out and doing this, because we spoke about this a year or more ago. We said, like I said, we get these visions and we know we're supposed to do stuff together, whatever it may be. But as I said, it's the patience of just waiting until it comes. And it's just been now has been the right time for you, It's just
timing, like you say.
Thank you for stepping out and doing it and creating this, and hope that it grows into a big thing, because it comes from a place of love and wanting to help people. So from your heart, I know that. So we're very blessed.
So please come back. Let me know when you're free again, and please come back because I'd love to have you back on.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to do a healing, or we could maybe run a workshop or something like that. And
Yeah, no
so,
problem.
great.
We can actually do a healing, as you know.
Yes.
We can do a healing, which will be good.
Yes, ma'am.
You let me know when you're ready.
Yes, definitely, I will. So, everyone, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I hope you've, you felt blessed and got a little bit more transformed than you are after listening to the conversation. And if you were feeling a bit freaked out about the galactic side of it, when we're talking about Arcturians and all of that, here's my question to you. Are you galactic? Because guess what I say? You are. And why? Because you're on Earth. And where is Earth? In Milky Way, which is part of the galaxy. So you get it. And I encourage you to go and find out more about our galactic family, because we have an amazing galactic family. So until next time, keep reaching for the stars. Look after yourselves and stay in a great energy space and keep reaching for the stars. Yes. Bye.
Yeah.